This is not my universe. Hey gamers, it's me. Now that I'm here, I don't know what to do. Luckily I still have my bread and butter. Actually, today I'm gonna talk about a musical that's about lying on the ground and waving through the window. So yeah, you could say we're in for a treat. You know what? Let's step out into the sun. It's raining and there's no sun. I can't. Sorry. You know what? Let's just watch the film adaptation. It can't be that bad, right? Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but we'll get to that part later. Way back in November of 2018, 1 year after some sort of Q&A thing, Universal got the film rights to the original musical titled Dear Evan Hansen. Oh, did I forget to mention that this film is an adaptation of a stage musical? I was going to go through the whole production history of the musical, but according to the Wikipedia page, the only thing about the production was that there were several readings prior to the first stage production. Which you would hope so, wouldn't you? Back to the film then. The film was slated to have Stephen Chbosky as the director, and the writer of the musical, Stephen Levinson, who also worked on one of the best films ever, Tick Tick Boom, to convert the story into a screenplay. Ben Platt, who played Evan Hansen in the musical version of the film, was slated to appear in the titular role. However, that was not met with a lot of delight. Again, we'll get to that later. Many other big people joined the cast, such as Amy Adams, best known for the 2011 Muppets movie and nothing else, along with some others. The film started to film in August 2020 and had no interruptions even though some ear infection was spreading. How cool! Everyone making the film seems pretty proud of the film, which is really, really cool. However, something happened. The first trailer was released. Dun dun dun! The trailer was released on May 18th, 2021, and this little guy who was me watched it really excited about it, knowing the musical and the song. However, other people did not think that. People thought that Ben Platt looked too old to play a teenager, considering he was 27 and all. I mean, I find that really strange. As a person who is literally the same age as the main character, he was a very believable 17-year-old. Yeah. No kidding. Most people in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man won't either. So it's not really a valid criticism. Platt decided to defend his honour, rightfully so, and mentioned how the actors in Grease weren't teenagers either. Anyway, the film was eventually released in September 2021, and it underperformed. Look, I really wanted to see the film in cinemas, however there was a big problem outside, making it so I couldn't even legally watch it. Well, at least it was pretty hard to do. However, again, it did actually come second in the box office debut weekend, just merely missing the opening of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. They were really close. Trust me, don't look it up, but they were really close, alright? The film got a 29% in Rotten Tomatoes. Or Tomatoes. What? The film wasn't groundbreaking, but it wasn't terrible. The main complaint was the questionable casting and a story that's pretty hard to swallow. Firstly, questionable casting? It was cast pretty well if I do say so myself. Ben Platt perfectly plays the awkward teenager. One review points out how it's painful to watch as you're getting secondhand embarrassment from these characters. Yes, reviewer, that was the entire point. No kidding, you're supposed to get secondhand embarrassment. I'll explain the plot in a bit, but it's pretty clear you're gonna get secondhand embarrassment. I find it extremely bizarre, as the main complaints of the film are also in the musical version, which got pretty favourable reviews. Many people were also annoyed that Mark Platt, who is Ben Platt's father and was a producer on the film, only got Ben to be in the film for some sort of nepotism. Honestly, I think it's kind of cool that Ben got to reprise the role of Evan Hansen in the film version. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see someone else in the role, but Ben does it so well that I don't think we really need anyone else. One reviewer even said they'd rather watch Cats. No you wouldn't, buddy. No you wouldn't. The film got nominated for many of those mean awards that people give out. It was nominated for the She Deserves a New Agent Award by the Alliance of Women Film Journalists, with the award being nominated for Amy Adams. It was also nominated for Worst Director, Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actress, and Worst Screen Combo by the Golden Raspberry Awards. The reason why it got nominated for the Worst Screen Combo is ridiculous. It was nominated because everyone in the film acts like Platt singing 24/7 is normal. I somehow don't think these people know what a musical is, but yes, in every single musical on planet Earth, every character singing is normal. This isn't the film Deadpool. Not everything has to point out the things that every movie does. That's why it's called a musical. I don't even get why these reviewers anger me so much. Maybe it's just because no one actually gets the film, as I am a true cynic. Ignore him, guys. He's going a bit crazy. Of course, some of the criticism is valid. Some of the music in the film feels slightly off, even though it's sung by the exact same person, and some other moments seem as if they could have been done a little bit better. Hey, let's just talk about the plot. Evan Hansen is a 17-year-old dude who suffers from social anxiety, don't we all? His therapist, who we never ever meet in the entire film, tells him that he should be writing letters to himself saying why the current day will be good. All the letters start with, Dear Evan Hansen, and end with, Sincerely, me. Evan's mother, named Heidi apparently, tells him that he should consider getting people to sign his cast, as Evan had actually fallen out of a tree during the school break. Heidi thought that when the people sign his cast, they would become friends with Evan, which isn't really how friends work, but whatever. Once Evan gets to school, he writes a letter to himself asking himself if anyone would notice if he just disappeared, and how he's waving through a window and trying to speak. But nobody could hear, so he would just wait around for an answer to appear while he watches people pass. Evan's classmate, named Connor Murphy, becomes the very first person to sign his cast, taking up pretty much the entire cast. Meanwhile, Evan secretly has a crush on Connor's sister, Zoe. Connor reads a letter that Evan wrote to himself and sees that he mentions Zoe, so he becomes very angry and had a fight with him, and storms out of the library with letter in hand. Cut to 3 days later. Connor's parents are sitting in the principal's office with a letter, telling Evan that Connor committed suicide. Look, everyone, I don't mean to break character here, but this is a real issue. This is the first time I've ever broken character here on Chalek, and probably will be the only time I ever break character on this YouTube channel, but it's for a real reason. Whatever you do, don't commit suicide. I am not really good at doing this type of thing, hence why I scripted it, but I didn't script me saying that I scripted it, whatever. But please, if you're having these types of thoughts, please talk to someone about it. I'll leave links in the description about some pretty good resources that you could read about, and possibly even talk to someone about them. Please, take it from me. Don't do it. See? Unscripted, I had a voice crack. I hate to make a reference to a song from the film, but honestly, you will be found. That's kind of what that song's about, and yeah. There are other people going through similar situations, so yeah. Now back to your somewhat regularly scheduled Chalek episode, even though this is like a day late because guess what? I'm only recording the audio now, a day after the episode should have come out, but whatever. We're just going to pretend that this fourth wall break never happened, okay? Connor's parents tell Evan that they found a letter with Connor with him when he died, that being a letter that starts with Dear Evan Hansen. At first, Evan tries to tell him the truth about everything, but eventually gives up after seeing the parents see Connor's name on the cast. Evan gets invited over for dinner at the Murphys' household, so of course, he goes, expecting to tell the truth then too. However, Cynthia, the mother of Connor and Zoe, pretty much pressures Evan to come up with a story about how the two of them were friends. So Evan says that Connor was there for him when he fell out of the tree, at an apple orchard that the Murphys used to always visit. He kinda gets the clues on what to talk about from Cynthia constantly giving him story hints, but I guess that was just a way with dealing with what happened. At this point, we're up to the second song, for Forever. It's a pretty good song, but the next one is my personal favourite. Evan at some point says that he and Connor used to write emails to each other, so he enlists the help of his family friend Jared in creating fake emails between the two of them to confirm his story. From this, we get the song Sincerely Me, which a parody of it was used in the Among Us musical, otherwise known as YouTube Rewind 2020 musical, with fake Mr. Beast and Mark Rober. The song is like pretty upbeat, and it's a lot better in the film. As in the musical version, it can be a bit difficult to tell the difference between the voice of Jared and Connor, whereas in the film version, the two voices are very distinct, making it better. Also, the guitar is better in the film version. It's like the only song that's better in the film version. However, the film cuts a small section about Connor and Evan being gay, but keeps the setup for the punchline, but cuts the actual joke, at least in the soundtrack of the film. Which is weird, but whatever. Anyway, the emails work and the three Murphys sing a song about Requiem or something. Evan is then invited over once again, with Zoe being the only one there so far. Zoe gets confused as to why she was mentioned in Connor's supposed suicide note. So Evan basically tells her all the reasons why he loves her but pretends it's what Connor loved about her. Zoe and Connor didn't have that great of a relationship, but I assumed this worked? Anyway, that leads to the song If I Could Tell Her, which is also a good song. Many of the songs from this musical are great. Actually, all of them are. Even Part of Me, which was replaced by You Will Be Found, is good too. Another classmate, Alana Beck, had been going through some very similar mental health issues to what Evan was going through, so she proposes the Connor Project, which would be a student group dedicated to keeping Connor's memory alive. Again, song happens. They unveil the project with approval from the Murphys at an assembly. Evan actually wears Connor's tie at the assembly, even though earlier he wasn't going to talk because he was guilty or something, but obviously he isn't anymore, or he is, but he's like bottling up everything inside. Evan does a very telling speech, which is the main song, You Will Be Found, and everyone loves it. Fun fact, I actually performed You Will Be Found with a school choir and our performance was utterly atrocious. The speech Evan made goes viral on social media, making people around the globe believe that the two were friends. Alana and Evan release a crowdfunding campaign to try and reopen the famous orchard. Evan then kinda basically ignores his mother's existence, making him like another Murphy. Kinda weird considering he started dating Zoe. That's right, he's like dating his sister, it's sort of weird. Heidi shows up at the Murphys for dinner, but then gets annoyed when they tell her that they will pay for Evan's college, as Heidi doesn't want any help for doing something that she can't do herself. I assume that this is one of the points that the reviewers got mad about, but it's also in the musical version, so blame that. Alana then begins to doubt that Evan was ever friends with Connor, finding some inconsistencies between the story he told and the emails he wrote. Evan then emails the letter that is now Connor's suicide note to Alana and tells her not to show it to anyone. Of course, Alana doesn't listen and posts it on social media. There was backlash. People online got annoyed that Connor only wrote the letter to Evan and not his family, saying that they didn't treat him well. Alana then deletes the letter from social media, but it's way too late. The letter was on Reddit. Yes, that's a real line from the film. It's on Reddit. I guess it's an r/Connor project? Not really sure they know how Reddit works. Evan runs to the Murphy household and finally reveals the truth through song. The Murphys decide to keep the truth hidden, and of course Zoe and Evan break up. Evan then tells his mum how when he went to climb up the tree, he was actually trying to commit suicide. Heidi apologizes to Evan for not seeing how bad he was hurting and reveals to him the true story about his dad, as there was a divorce because it's a movie, and that always happens. Yeah, it also happened through a song. Evan finally uploads a video of him confessing the truth, and ends up alone once again, with the whole world hating him. He starts to actually get into contact with people who knew Connor and finds a video of him performing music in rehab. Evan then passes along the video to the Murphys, then heads to the orchard which actually got reopened in Connor's memory. He meets up with Zoe and he writes one final letter to himself about how today was going to be a good day, as he's finally himself and not hiding anything. It's a real tearjerker. Not as bad as The Fault in Our Stars, but my god! Look, I really like this film. I think it's a fantastic story told beautifully through film. The musical is a good story that needed to be told, and I really think people should look past the flaws they might see and see what the film is actually about. Yes, of course, Evan Hansen is really awkward. He literally has social anxiety. It's like the entire plot of the film. And yes, of course, you are meant to feel embarrassment when Cynthia keeps pushing Evan that he was friends with Connor. Her goddamn son just committed suicide and she's trying to find something and find someone that will help her get her through it. I mean, come on, it's literally set in the film. I don't think the film is brilliant in any sense of the imagination, but I do think it's a solid 7 out of 10. Thank you, Evan Hansen. Dear Evan Hansen is a fantastic musical made into a pretty good film telling the story of really emotional. Yeah. I don't really have a good joke to say right now, except for the fact that no one's gonna find me here. I'm stuck inside this universe alone. Scared. My clothes change. I don't know what to do. Where's the first episode machine where you really need him?